All right. I think we're live. Everybody hopping up on the video right and left. Awesome. So I am going to, here's what I'm thinking, and of course, taking questions and comments, if there's anything else need to do besides this or in addition, but what I'm thinking I'll do is have you guys kind of warm up after lunch by practicing with Git Reset. Hi, Renee. I am. Yeah, later. Okay. That was Renee. So Git Reset. And then I'll kind of go a little bit more into the kind of the corner I painted myself into by talking about force push and explain that a little more carefully and at length. And then the two big things we want to get done before we break here for the day are talk about, go through merge, collision, and resolution, and then give you guys some time to just kind of work with the project team and make changes together with me in the background, just being there as needed. So before we jump in, any holdover questions, comments, observations? All right, so that being the case, then let's go ahead. I'll share my screen and we'll get into some more Git Reset. So I'll just demonstrate what I want you guys to do. Maybe you've gone through this already, but I want you to make sure that you each take the chance to practice with Git Reset. So what that will look like is creating a file and making a change basically of any kind, and kind of looking at the trees as you go with Git Status. So seeing what happens, noticing that, okay, this has only changed the workspace. Doing a git add, another Git Status. Now it's moved, and technically not moved, it's been copied. And then doing a git commit. So all this you're familiar with, but then I want you to move it backwards, and then bring another file into the mix as well. So at this point, if I were to use Git Reset to change one tree, what would I do? What would be my next command? I would move just back one commit for one tree.
Git Reset -- soft head 1.
Okay.
All right.
-- like this. Head. So you head.
The little caret thingy.
Caret. So caret. Okay. By the way, there is a couple of different syntaxes you may see. That one is caret and one is tilde, and it has to do with kind of which, if we remember those merge commits that have two parents. The caret has to do with selecting which one of those parents you want to select. The tilde has to do with how far back you're going on the first grandparent. So tilde 1 is fine. Yeah. So let's see how that worked. Okay, so we've got we move back. This is kind of where I left off. I hadn't shown that before, sorry, but now we're back to where we left off as far as our head pointer to our branch. And then if we do status, then yes, now so what tree has changed as a result?
Is that the index?
Well, the index is where the change lives. But the actual only change that was made was pulling the head back. So you could think of it as Git reset actually applying some change, and then Git status just kind of puts its head up and says, okay, what are the relative statuses of these three trees? And I'll report on that. So what it sees, because it doesn't have a notion of what happened before, it just knows what is in your repo. It says, oh, looks like you have index here and you have head back here and you have your workspace that matches index. So in other words, there's no red showing up, which means that index and workspace match, but there's a green change showing up, which means that index and head are out of sync. But there's a change waiting on index from what it just can see, the state of the world at this instant. So
Is that what you wanted to do?
yeah. This basically you're moving the change backward through the trees. You can think of it that way. So they when you started, it was over here on workspace. Git add brought the index up to date, and then Git commit brought the head up to date with the index. And now we're going the other way. -- soft pulls the index back, but only not the index. I'm sorry, pulls head back, but only the head. Index and tree stay where they're at. And that's what we're seeing right now. Now, how would we move index back and leave workspace alone at this point?
-- mixed.
Exactly. Now we have to be careful here, because what do we want to put for our reset point? So we've already moved head back one. So what will happen if I just hit enter right now?
So would it be as in this is where we would have to change the tilde and put it into a caret and change the 1 into a 2?
Well, so head is with respect to like where head is right now. So right now head is here and index is here. All we want to do is move the index. We don't want to move head, because that's just what we want to do. We can do anything we want, but that's what we're doing right now. So how do we accomplish that? Because if we have, so head tilde 1 is going to be somewhere down here, right? So we don't.
Sorry, would it just be mixed head?
Yeah,
without the tilde?
exactly. Because this is the kind of a reference point of what we're resetting to. So if we did head tilde 1, it would pull these two all the way, down further than we wanted. So yes, this just only moves the index, leaves head alone because it's already pointing to head. I mean, that's the effect of it, right? So now if I do a Git status, so now, head came down with the first soft reset, mix came down because we didn't change head, we left it the same, but now we brought index in line with it. And now we've still left the workspace alone. So the effect has been to bring our change back out, into our workspace and only our workspace as a modified file. And actually, in this case, a new file, because it wasn't in Git before. So that's why it says untracked. So yeah. And then of course, if we blow it away, then our workspace, index, and head all match again. We blow that file away. So I want you guys to go through that exercise of doing the add, create the file, add it, commit it, and then do the Git reset and bring it back. And if you want to get fancy, you can reset mixed and then put another file in and then redo the commit again. And just basically try to get a little comfortable with using Git reset and seeing how your local repo behaves. Recall, this is all on your local repo. We haven't done any pushes or pulls at this point. Question from Francisco.
Yes. So just so that I understand, we added this, we commit it, and then when you use reset to basically put the head back, that uncommits whatever it is that we committed. And then when we go back after we do mixed, when we use git status, it tells us that it's no longer added and it needs to be re-added and recommitted, right?
Right, exactly right.
Okay, thank
Yeah.
you. Appreciate
If
it.
that all works the way that it should, that's what will happen.
Thank you.
So let me give you guys about 5 minutes or so to play around with that a little bit. Feel free to reference the objects and trees, bottom of the objects and trees diagram. Down here. If and as needed. All right.
So I did have a question after doing that.
Mhm.
So after I did Git reset soft, just up one file. And I
Okay.
did Git mixed, and then I did Git status. And it's showing that a file that needs to be committed was not something that I added. So I
Okay.
imagine since I pulled everything, I'm able to, if I do this soft and mixed, since I now have all of this, I'm able to essentially go back to other people's commits too, not just mine.
Right. So yeah, so it the reset has no notion of who owns a commit. Right. That's just does things with commits that it sees that are in your history. So like if, for instance, in my this history I'm looking at right now, I've got I'm ahead a couple of commits from the remote, right? I could just set it back to here, right? Back to 66A3. Soft. Let's see what happens if I do that. Or I could do like head -1, -2, -3. That would accomplish the same thing. So let's see what happens now. So now I'm back here before origin main. If I do a git status, stuff is different. And status doesn't care, kind of what happened before. It just shows what is. So it says, well, what is that, your branch is behind origin main now, for one. And for another, based on where your local branch is and what this index looks like, you've got some changes in file.rb that haven't gone in yet. And also you've got this other file that hasn't ever been in GitHub, or hasn't ever been in your Git repo. So yeah.
Okay.
Now,
'Cause I think I did something I wasn't supposed to.
if you went further back than origin main, then you probably did something you weren't supposed to. But so okay, so now let me
Well, because that was hold on, let me go back up to my. So origin main was where our head was. So I guess we were supposed to commit stuff before making changes.
yeah, you move changes forward into there first, and then back them back out.
Okay,
Now,
so since I didn't do that,
that's
I
that's
then
okay,
got
because I'm going to show you how to get back to where you were. So Git has this little audit trail tool called reflog. So if because I've got back to where I didn't want to be too. Right now I'm back here before origin main, which is not where I want to be or stay. So now I'm like, all right, where was I before? How do I get back there? So Git reflog is this little kind of an audit trail of just your local local heads adventures around your repo, right? And so you can see, all right, here's the last thing I did with head. Here's the thing I did before, and before that, and before that. So you can kind of sometimes work out where you ought to be by looking at this reference log. So -1, head. So I think the first thing I did was, like, the latest thing I did was commit this change, apparently. If we recall, that was what I was demonstrating, git reset, by moving a change into the repo. So now you can literally take this reference right here, copy it. I'm going to do a Q to get out of that pager. And so now I can do a git reset hard and just put myself back at soft, but I'm going to basically put my head back where it was before. And now I'm back up to this change. And now I used to be down here under this commit just before origin main, which was bad, or could have been bad if I didn't know where I was and had not pulled. And then I would have lost all these changes too, because there's nothing pointing to them, once I move my main back here. But thanks to Git, they're actually not gone. They're still there. They just don't have a pointer to them until I went back to, and in my ref log and found where that pointer was that I wanted. So
it was Git ref.
Ref log, REFLOG, reference log is the short for.
Okay, so I might have done one extra step I shouldn't have.
Okay.
Team 4 best team. So I tried to pull because I was like, oh, I'm too far behind. Let me try and pull. And then I had this random window pop up and it was like, it said merge something, something, make some comment, something, something.
Of course it did.
So I just exited that. And now when I see did the Git ref log, it's showing me that I did a merge even though I didn't do anything.
Yes. So you would want to do a Git reset to something before that event. You could optionally, you could just do a Git reset -hard to origin main.
Git reset -- hard, and then the reference thing.
Yeah, the reference thing, or if you know you want to be on origin main, you could just say origin main. Somewhere, whatever gets you to a place that you know is
Beautiful.
Yes.
Yes.
So again, this goes back to making your graph look like you think it should look, right? So tools for doing that. And then understanding, how your other trees change as well, or don't change based on whether you use a soft, mixed, or hard strategy. So soft only changes your head, mixed changes your head and index, and then hard changes all three.
So I did want to clarify though, like, let's say I went behind the head, and then I tried to pull, merge didn't work like I wanted to. So then let's just say I was being silly and I forced a push.
Okay.
If I did this Git ref log, would it still have those differences between the behind head and the force push? Like, would I still have that original head file or not, or would that be gone?
So all that the ref log shows is what commits head pointed to. It's some, in the past. So it's literally just a list of commits that head has visited, right? So if you want to go back to those commits, they're still there in your repo. They're still there somewhere. It's not going to show up on your graph unless there is a branch, or your head is pointing there, or some remote reference knows about it. Origin / main, for instance. If none of those are pointing to a commit, the commit is not there.
So like, no matter what we ever accidentally do in Git, this can save us.
You can go a long way. Yeah, I mean, it's huge to know that the commits are still there, and it's also pretty big to know that you can. There's ways to know what commits have mattered to you at least sometime in the past. When you redo a commit, of course, it becomes a different commit, because a commit is just basically the. We haven't covered this yet, but a SHA is basically taking the content and turning it into a key. So, and that's completely based on what the content is. So if the content changes, the key must change. So if the key is the same, the SHA, this numbery hex thing over here at the left hand of your Git log, if that's the same, if you get some content and you hash it, what Git does under the hood is hash that content and spit out a key. If those keys are the same, the content must be the same. You may not know what it is, but it's got to be the same, because it's it's unique to the content. So if you ever hear Git referred to as a content addressable file system, that's what it means. Is this this is the address of the content. These hex SHA keys here. So and they stick around. Yeah, that Git doesn't go purge them once you stop pointing to them necessarily. You have to explicitly do that if you want to do some housekeeping, but otherwise they stay there and you can go back and point to them again if you can remember what they are, either with Git ref log or some other means. But right, so that's Git reset. That's revisiting the trees. Any other questions, comments before we come at it from another angle? Okay, so yes, force push. Let me take another slower, better way swing at explaining what happens if you do force push and you shouldn't. I took the liberty of, as you may have noticed, of making some more changes in my little repo here, and basically, here's where I was. Kind of where this branch is sitting right here, this branch something. By the way, branch is just a symbolic reference to a commit that moves along when head gets moved. So nothing fancy about a branch besides that. So anyway, here's this commit. I made a change here and I pushed it. And then I made another change and pushed that, trying to fix the first change. And then I thought, this has actually happened to me more than once in the past, I'll admit. I thought, you know what? I just need to fix this and then go push it later. So I make more changes, right? More changes. And now I'm like, okay, now I've got it, right? Let's say this is where I've got it, right? But the actual sort of whole mess started now it's well before what I've also shared with the world, and it's now gone out into the wild, basically. This ill-conceived bug fix and code change is now out there. So what I would like to do is just take all this and squash the final result into one commit and share that. So let's try that. So what I would do is I'm going to introduce a new tool called Git Rebase, which will let me do this kind of squashing that I'm talking about. And to do a Git Rebase, you have to, the way I'm using it here, you have to basically find out how far back you want to go and then go one commit before that. So I want to squash all these things and kind of leave this thing the same here. And so I'm going to mark 5274. So I'm going to Git Rebase. Oh, actually, before I do that, I have this teed up. So for this to work for you guys, there's this pre-work that someone referenced earlier today, and there's also these config settings that I was reminded of by that same person here. So if you do this first one time, just this right here, that will basically tell Git, okay, this is the editor to use when there's some interactivity required. And this --wait says, go into VS Code and then, don't go any further until that file gets closed out. And then you can move on with whatever that was done in that file. So feel free to go ahead and run that anywhere, wherever you are. Git has a notion
before that.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
What about the one before that?
You can run that too. I think that's the default anyway, but yeah, certainly you can run that as well. I won't go into detail on that right now, but it makes for fewer messages on your console. You can run it from wherever you're at. It's not a directory specific command. It basically puts that config into a global, with the -- global goes into your home directory .git config. If you want to get into the nitty gritty of it. And so it stays there with, from here forward, whatever Git commands you run from wherever on your machine. So with that in place, actually, let me just go ahead and run it, make sure I'm in that state as well. So yeah, if I were to literally now look at the cat ~.git config. So here's what happens when you say pull.rebase equals false. Here's what happens when you say editor code -- editor -- wait. That's what gets put in there. I've actually commented it out before, but now it's back in. And again, that's in my tilde, that is home directory is what tilde is short for, /.gitconfig. Okay. But now I can do this rebase. Let's go back to where I was before here. So I want to basically squash all this down into one. So git rebase, and then -i for interactive, and then I choose this again, this 5274. It's kind of where I want to start from. So basically, this thing I won't be changing this, but I'll be changing potentially everything after that. So hop that in. Oh, command not found. I don't have it set up right. Okay. Yeah, I don't have code in my path. You guys should have it in your path. If you get this, also let me know, but you should have it in your path.
So we're doing this on the sample one?
You could do that. Well, yeah, I wouldn't have you do this necessarily right now. I'm doing this on just this contrived example I'm setting up to show why force push is bad. And I'm also introducing Git Rebase in the process. So let me back away from that Git config for the time being, because I don't have it set up in a way that I can demo it. So I'm going to do that by basically going in and undoing that code dash wait that I put in there before. So I'm going to just get rid of that line and go. So my Git Rebase it'll put me into the VI editor, because as you know, I live there. So whatever editor you use, it'll pop this kind of window up, right? And this is the interactive rebase. And it has these commits that I just referenced, the whole set, right? From where I was at head all the way back to the one that I referenced. And notice that it's in ascending order chronologically. So the latest one is at the bottom. And then it kind of has the documentation. Anything that's has a hash is a comment, so it's not going to really count when I save this file and exited it. This is a comment file, or in this case, an instruction file. So what I want to do basically is this one. I want to squash a bunch of previous commits all up into one. So here's the earliest one. I want basically this one to get joined with this one also to get, I want all these to get joined into one. So I'm going to change pick to squash. I can either type squash or just S. Whoops. Used to know how to do VI. All right, here we go. Squash. So I'm not touching the rest of this stuff. That's for Git to mess with, but I am telling it what to do with it by virtue of this instructions down
The
here.
first one, right?
Say again.
You missed the top one, right?
So the top one, that's going to be it's going to become the amalgamation of all those. So I'm going to leave it there, but all the others are going to get rolled up into it. And so the ultimate result will be the same as far as what the code looks like on the file system, but it will all be expressed as one commit instead of all these, try after try after try after try, if that makes sense.
So you go back to the first try rather than roll it all up to the latest?
Yeah, and actually I go back one before the first try, because notice I said 5274, which was the one before this guy. So 5274 is my base that I start from, and then all the others go into this editor. And so I'm going to keep this one and then roll all the others into it. So that's what so when I hit save, it's gonna keep going. This is a process. So now it says, okay, I got you. So now I want you to figure out what comment do you want? Because there's 5 different commits and comments, and what do you want me to say? So again, anything that doesn't have a comment sign here, a hash mark, is what's going to result. So I can say, nah, I certainly don't want to say that. I don't want to start that. I don't want any of these. I'm going to say, this is what I really wanted to change. All right, so then I put the comment that I really mean to do. All this empty space and hash marks are going to go away, and I'm just going to be left with this guy. Everything further down is also comments, so I don't have to worry about that. So now I'm good. I'm going to save it. And so let's see how I did. So, okay, so there it is. There's the sum of all those changes, all expressed as one commit. So am I good? What do you think? Anybody see any problems with that tree?
We still have those two off in the ether over there.
Yeah. Why are they here?
Looks
Because you went you went a few commits behind origin main, didn't you?
Right. Yes, I did. And therein lies the problem. So these guys are already out in the wild, but I went back before them anyway and, rolled them up into this commit. So, here's kind of where I'd be tempted to just say, you know what, this is what I really wanted to do. I'm just going to force push it and change everybody's notion of what main is to something different with no merges, nothing that connects it to what it was before. I'm just going to make it different. And so, because I'm embarrassed about these commits that got out here in the wild, I don't want them to see them anymore. So I'm just going to force push. That's the temptation. Trouble is, everybody else already knows if they've pulled, that is, they already know about this. Now, there's, of course, a tiny, tiny, tiny chance that nobody has pulled yet, that you did all this on your own and that, nobody has done a Git pull and gotten there and caught up to where they've seen this and pulled it down to their own local place, right? So if that's the case, in fact, maybe that is the case. Maybe, you know the history and, it's not a very often changed repo, et cetera, et cetera. So you might get away with it. But if you're not sure you'll get away with it, then you really don't want to do it. So is this making sense so far?
So would you mind walking us through, again, I know you did cover it, but would you mind walking us through again? Like, so instead of pushing right now, I go back to my ref log, I go back to this file, and then this is what I really should do.
Right. Sure, absolutely. So yeah, ref log, Git ref log says what? Oh, okay, bunch of rebases, some resets right here. Looks like, okay, I was checking out 5274. So I think I was probably right here. Now, of course, if I wasn't, I can just try something else, but let's try that. So git reset.
Hey, wait, before you go there, Chris,
Mm-hmm.
I guess what I would have thought was, well, let's go all the way down to before origin and main. So can you explain why you're going all
Like
the way
down
up
here?
there? Yeah, I guess
Right, well-
I guess I was thinking that would be what we were supposed to do.
So good question. So now note here that I didn't do a Git log, right? So I'm not looking at my actual Git repo graph. I'm just looking at an audit trail of where I've moved head around to in the course of my Git operations. So this is not a tree. Like this what I'm doing here is a Git ref log. So that's something completely different than say this, right?
Okay, so then how looking at this, do you know where you want to move your head to then?
Well, to be honest, I'm not 100% sure. I'm just making a good guess because I don't do it very often, but it looks like this is kind of the thing that I started to do before I got into the rebase, because this is where the rebase operations kind of start, right? Looks like head
So
was
that-
here.
So like your brain is saying, okay, I went behind where the main is. So I need to undo that last step. I need to go back to where my head was at before I did that step. That's what you're
Yeah,
thinking.
before I started all this rebase garbage.
Okay.
Right, so it looks like, okay, there's some resets and stuff. I mean, I could probably try here as well, but let's see if I recognize what's here. All right, so let's just take the whole ball of wax, head, index, and workspace all the way back to this 66A3. Now, and I can type 66A3, or I can use this reference that they give you here, which would be this, right? So like, I guess the 7th back from where, where the first operation was in this log. So, okay, there's where it is. Ill-conceived code change. I think I was ahead of that though. I think I was, because I had several ill-conceived code changes. So I, maybe I'm probably here. Let's try this. But also notice I can't just use head 7 again or head 6, because this changes as I operate on head. I've just changed head, so now my Git reflog has got different references, right? So if I look at Git reflog again now, like it's relatively a different reference, so I have to be careful. But I think what I wanted to do was this head 4 thing, right? This 08. So let's try Git reset here. Let's see what that looks like. All right, yeah, okay. I reckon now I'm back. Now I'm back. Good. That's where I was. This is where I was before I started the rebase. I'm happy again. So all that to say, you can, like, the things that you commits you make don't go away. You just Git has your back. You just have to find a way to go get back to the place in the graph that you know about. Okay. So reflog helps you do that. Important to distinguish it from the actual Git log, which is the actual tree of history of Git history. This is not, that's not Git history. This is just what you've done typing history. Right. So now let's try Git rebase again, like you said, the right way. Okay. So what that means is I can't rebase back before origin main. I just have to let this hang out there. I just have to, take the reputational hit of the kind of coder I am, and do the best I can with what I've got. So what I can do is start from here. So let's try a rebase from here. Git rebase -I, and let's just start from origin main. Now, notice I can type just because I type origin main here doesn't mean that I'm doing anything with a remote. It's just a reference to that same commit. So anything that resolves to this commit in most Git commands is fair game. So that will work just as well as copy pasting, this 4F2, whatever. And by the way, I don't have to type the whole thing either, just enough to make it unique to Git. So I can try 4 digits if I'm lazy, and if Git doesn't complain, then I'm good to go. All right, so let's just squash as many as I can. I've got a couple that I can squash, right? So let's do that. Save. Now it goes on and pops me into another editor to take care of my comments. Don't need that one. Don't need that one. Sorry guys. And here's the fix. For the overhead. Here's the fix. All right, so there we go. Go in, and now if we look at our, basically what I did. So now I squashed, 3. What was it up here? I was at three commits, that really didn't have to be that. It could have been 1. So now it's 1. So like if you were to Git clone 2 these repos side by side and put one of them on, this commit and one of them on this commit and diff them, they would be identical as far as content on workspace. Does that make sense?
Makes sense to me.
So content on workspace would be the same, but your commit history now has been cleaned up.
So for 66A3 Charlie 65 right there,
Mhm.
that's just like too late, man, because that's already been pushed.
It's already been pushed. Yeah,
Okay.
it is what it is. So, yeah. So that's, unless there's sometimes there's a reason to, just get together with the team and circle up and say, you know what, we're in a bad state. We just need to go back and together reset to some other commit that is a good place and force push there. And then all just, well, I mean, so that's a good question. What do you do if you all have to put your origin main back to some other place that somebody is force pushed? Anybody have any thoughts on that? Like if we had gone through and changed origin main by just slamming it up there, what would everybody else have to do? Besides drop the database.
They'd have to pull those changes, right?
Well, they would try, and then they would get a nasty message from Git, right? About, that there's no longer a valid way to like the origin mains differ now. And they, at the very least, they would have to do a merge when they shouldn't have had to do a merge. So if everybody needs to know that they need to go to this specific commit, recall a pull is two operations. All right, what two operations?
Fetch and
Merge.
So you could have them do a git fetch, and then they would at least have a notion of what is, what main is now over there. So the origin main here would jump to somewhere else with respect, when they did their local repo history. And then you would just have them, they could just do a git reset hard of their main to origin main. And then you'd say, okay, we're all going to start from here. And now we're back on track with each other. But again, that's like, last resort, we really don't know what else to do kind of thing. You would almost never do that. But I do want to kind of go through it so you kind of know what the, what it looks like to change this Git graph around locally, and then also to, mess with it remotely. I haven't thought about a charging pricing scale. Maybe I should. But, DRW pays me well enough, so I probably won't do that.
Chris,
Yeah.
the Git Rebase -I command, and then you put in that kind of, or the first 4 digits of that hexadecimal number.
Yeah.
It looks like, so it moves your head one commit before that, right?
Well, so so this is where kind of where I want, this is the thing that I don't want to change. And, I just go back just before the earliest thing that I want to change.
Okay.
And that's what I put in for rebase. That's kind of my rule of thumb for this operation.
So Rebase is everything after that change, correct?
Yeah, it pops that into that instruction window and says, here, you can do stuff with these commits. But the commit itself that you specify doesn't actually show up in that window of that list of commits.
Okay. Thank
So yeah, it just takes a little getting used to as to how it works. And again, you can, if it all goes pear-shaped, you can just abort it and, go just hard reset to some place that you know about. So yeah, literally, if you're going to play with Git reset, just, one thing you could do is just copy paste this commit that you start from before you do anything. And then, if you want to start over, just Git reset to that commit that is in a good place, and Git will be totally happy with that. The one occasional exception might be if you're in the middle of something and Git will have kind of state. It'll say you're in the middle of merging or you're in the middle of rebasing, but then it'll say, if you don't want to do this, you just say -- abort, and it'll tell you what to copy paste into your command line to just back away. It's pretty good about that. So, okay. Force push and why not to do it and what it looks like when you do. So, although I haven't actually done it, I'll avoid that. But Git rebase, Git ref log, force push. All right, let's talk about some merging. Let's see. How do we do this? Let's create a merge conflict. Am I in a good state? I'm good enough state. All right. So how do you create a merge conflict? There's the way that you guys are going to do it, which is to actually push something up and change the same line. That reminds me of a joke, but I won't tell it right now. Change the same line and then try to, do a git pull. So let's see what that might look like here. If I were to, I'm going to pretend that I'm two people. All right, here's how I'm going to do this because git reset lets me do this. So let's change a file. All right. Actually, let's change a line in the file. Same line. I'm going to git add. I'm going to get committed. Change line 1. I'm going to git push it. Okay, now it's up there. Okay, now here's where I'm going to pretend I'm somebody else. So suppose I was, origin main used to be here. So I'm going to pretend that I'm somebody else and my main is still here, is still back here. How would I do that? Back here on 11899.
Reset head caret.
Mm-hmm.
Hard reset.
Exactly right. So now it kind of looks, well, not kind of, it looks exactly like somebody else has pushed this up to origin, right? And I haven't gotten there yet. I'm still back here. But if I had done a git fetch, I would see this up here, but I'm still working back here. So it's as if I'm somebody else, same repo, but at an earlier point in time, if that makes sense. So I'm like, oh, hey, I'm going to change file 1. I know exactly what to do. Of course, it looks like I think it looks. Okay, I'm going to just do a git add, and I'm going to do a
What
git
is
commit.
VI?
Say again?
What's VI?
Oh, VI is Vim. That's my 40-year-old editor.
Oh,
Sorry.
So,
VI, aka Vim, aka GVim, aka MacVim, aka Vim plugin in your Visual Studio Code. So I'm going to change line 1. It all works, right? So far, so good. And I'm going to git push it. And whoa, doesn't work. Okay, fine. I forgot to git pull. Let's just do a git pull. Oh gosh, no. Now there's conflicts. Anybody seen this before? So what happened? Anybody want to describe what's going on?
We're both working on the same file, but one's been pushed and your changes are conflicting with those changes.
Yeah. Not only did I need to pull, and not only was, did I need to catch up, but like we are right there in the same file in the same line. So there's Git doesn't even know what to begin to do. But it does know how to kind of tell us what's you know, what's happening or what needs to happen. So if we do a git status now, we see that, okay, they've diverged. Yeah. Okay. One different commit on one branch, one different commit on another, tells us about that. Git pull, which we tried, and now we got unmerged paths. And as I mentioned, if you want to just bail out, you can just do a -- abort, but we're not going to do that. We're going to try to fix it. So now we've got this modified file where we didn't have before, by the way, right? So this is where the merge lives, or the merge conflict lives. So we can at this point go into VS Code and actually not go here in VS Code. Let's open it up in Romeo. I believe I can get there from here. Yes. So here's that. So this file 1 shows, you know, issues. So now the editor, the IDEs are really wanting to help here, because now they put all these links and buttons and stuff that you can do to decide what you want to do. But the essential content of the file, it looks just like this. You know, it's got these left-hand angle brackets here that mark the start of kind of your left-hand side of your changes, and then the equals, the equals below is sort of delineates this left hand from the right hand, and then down here is the end of the you know, the other change that is coming from it says incoming. So in other words, it's coming from the remote in this case. And we can kind of verify that by looking at our graph, right? So here's 0BCC, that's up there on origin. And here's us over here where head is pointing to. So yeah, 0BCC is here. So that's important to kind of know, okay, what am I looking at? What change is coming from where? So, you know, it's worth staring at this a bit to see what it's telling you. So
is current always yours?
Say again?
So is current always yours? And then the blue is always the other person's?
Qualified, yes, I'll say. I think, you know, in this case, I recognize my change because this is the one I tried to push the second time, right? And in this case, this is the one that was already, that's the one that made it up there first, is this change. And so it's on me. Like, what do I want to do? Do I want both of them? Do I want, you know, this one do I like this one better? Do I figure out that, you know what, that I can do some editing and both of them can coexist? Completely up to me, right? And these buttons will kind of let you decide. If you decide you want both, okay, fine. Now then it cleans up everything. And then I can just save it, and nothing's actually happened yet. Right? If I do a git status, besides that file changing, nothing's happened as far as git. It still thinks it's, you know, unresolved. So, but it also tells me what to do to make it resolved. So all I have to do when I'm happy with it is just do a git add of that file. I mean, not all I have to do, most of all I have to do. So now it says all conflicts fixed. So important point, those sections, there can be more than one of those sections per file, right? If you have a long file, there may be like conflict sections way down below the fold, right? And so just because you fix the first one doesn't mean they're all fixed necessarily. So you want to make sure you check all the way through, because if you just fix the first one and say git add, then you've got like merge cruft in your file that's going to get committed and pushed, and that will not be a happy path. So just keep in mind that,
What do you mean by that?
There could be several sections. So let's do this. Let's do this abort. Let's see. What state am I in now? Okay, so I've aborted, right? So I'm still back now. So let's try the git merge again. Merge. I could probably, let's see, would it get pulled just accomplish? Yeah, because it does emerge. Fetch is a no op, but it does emerge. So now I'm back there again. So in this case, I just have one line to deal with, but maybe this is 1,000 lines of HTML, which normally doesn't merge very well anyway, but there could be several of these sections in here, like if I have another line and it also conflicts the same way, like you could see something like this, right? And this isn't terrible because you can see both of them on the same page, but you know, if you have 100 lines and you just don't think to look like down here, and you just think you just have this one and fix it, you know, I'm like, oh, okay, boom, you know, and this is still below the fold, so I think I'm done, right? But no, actually I'm not. There's another one to fix as well. So you could get file changes like that where there's, you know, line 1 conflicts and so does line 1,000.
So you were saying make sure you do git add because it'll tell you if there's others that are still unresolved.
Well, that's the thing, it doesn't tell you. So like if I did a git add just now, I mean, if I do a git status, I haven't done a git add, so git status is still going to say I've got changes, right? But I think I fixed it. I do a git status. It says, oh, they're all fixed. Well, let's see. If I look in this file, no, they're not. They're really not. Like this is still here, right? Because I just haven't looked that far down in my file. That's my point. So be sure you look all the way through and make sure, you know, you've looked at all the conflicts in a given file is kind of the moral of the story. Because there could be.
What happens if you try to merge now? Is it going to just be another merge conflict?
I mean, I could try this. See what
I meant without fixing that.
Oh, without fixing it? Well,
Right.
it thinks I'm ready. Right? If I left it like this and everything was like this, yeah, it says you're ready to go. Go ahead and commit.
So bad.
But I'm not. So it's not doing any magic to go check after I've done a git add. It says, okay, you know, whatever you've added, let's go forward. So just so you know the limitations of what's, you know, of the tool. So just, yeah, make sure that you've handled all of these sections and don't just assume there's only one per file, because there could be several. And maybe your IDE might let you know, like, you know, there might be some indicators over here. I haven't messed with Visual Studio Code enough to know if it's that illustrative of what you should do, but probably is once you get used to it. But it's easy to miss, I guess, is where I'm coming from. So yeah, let's go ahead and get rid of that. We've only got one. So okay, so here it is. Only got this one line. We're going to keep both of them. Cool. Of course, got to now get added again because I changed it, but now I'm ready to commit. Really, really, truly ready. Okay. And it says, yeah, just use git commit to conclude your merge. So there's that. And if I do a git status now, all good, working tree clean. The merge shows up. So now I've resolved the merge conflict. So now it's your turn. So let's have the project team lead choose a file, you know, any file, and you know, commit a change, push it, and then once he or she has pushed it, go ahead and, you know, make that same change before you pull team members, to the same file, the same line. And then add commit that. And then try a git pull. So let me restate that in the chat.
But don't try and
Sure.
push it. Okay, you're gonna put it in
Yeah,
chat. that's fine.
so project lead, make a change in a file. File, git add, commit, push. Okay. Team. Make same. So change same line, same file. Git add commit. So wait. Don't pull, I guess is the thing I want you to make. Don't do yet. All right, so the gist is you all concurrently change the same line in the same file and git added committed. Project team lead goes ahead and pushes. And then the team tries to pull it. And you should get basically what I just walked you through. You should get, except for the project lead, because they're the first one to go. So the rest of you should get a merge conflict. And then you can walk through the process of resolving that merge conflict locally.
Oh, so the team makes a different change to the same file that the team lead makes the change to?
Same
Is that
file
what-
on the same line. If you don't make the change to the same line, it might just go ahead and merge without complaining and try to resolve the conflict itself. Yeah, I mean, keep in mind, Git does not know about syntax as far as, the files that it's manipulating. It doesn't know Java. It doesn't know HTML. It just knows lines.
Chris, are we pausing after the team gets the merge conflict, or are we trying to resolve that at this time?
Good question. So your project team lead, of course, won't have a merge conflict. Their push will be just fine. If there's, 3 others of you, then you will each resolve the merge conflict locally with whatever changes you've made. And then whoever wins there will also, the first person will also be fine. And then the rest will also have another merge conflict to deal with when they try to push. So
Mine
So
doesn't have the nice, keep both, get rid of this one, get rid of that one prompts. How do I get
Yeah.
those cool things?
Yeah, I mean, in that case, you can just edit it however you see fit. You have to, all you have to do in that case is manually get rid of the, the lines that have the angle brackets and the equal sign. And then also whatever line you don't want to keep in the change as well. So yeah, sometimes your IDE will handle the decorations for you, but
And then after we handled it, we push.
yeah, if you're the first one, done. I mean, you don't, I mean, as far as this exercise is concerned, you don't have to. You could push and then give your project team lead a chance to practice as well, because then they could make a change and try to push, and then they're the ones that are going to get the merge conflict at that point.
So I tried pushing, and then it said updates were rejected because I'm behind. Try polling. So
Mhm.
then I tried polling, and it said polling is not possible because you have unmerged files.
Okay, so did you do a commit before you did the push? So first, I guess first try Git Status. What does Git Status tell you?
It says, okay, I think I do need to add first.
Mm-hmm.
I guess for some reason I was thinking because I already committed, I didn't need to.
I think if you try to commit when there's nothing to add, Git will just happily do it, but nothing will happen. Yep.
I think it worked.
It just says, sure, I'll commit nothing for you happily. Need a couple more minutes until maybe 150. So yeah, if you've managed to resolve your merge conflicts and commit, then go ahead and you can practice some more by just pushing them up and continuing to change that same line. Just practice that code hotspot and work it to death. And again, that'll give your project team lead a chance to give it a go as well. Okay. All right, everybody got a chance to practice and succeed with merge conflicts? Make a little bit of sense more than before? Comments, feedback?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, so it's 1:50. It's running a little bit behind because I wanted to give you guys a chance to practice kind of, just running your project with all this stuff before we put it in the rearview mirror. How about we take maybe 20 minutes to do that? And you could actually go back to the sample again for inspiration. Copy paste if you wish, but this is just a simple HTML project. So here's some changes that you could look at either with GitHub, or you could look at it through the source tree or Git graph, however you want to interact with it. But you can see as you highlight different commits what kind of changes go into each commit. And you can actually, if you want to just open the HTML, you should be able to do something like if you go into the Git Basic sample project repo, the index HTML will kind of show what the project is when it's all the way through the commits. So if your team wants to spend a few minutes doing that, that's a kind of thing that you could interact with changes on, just to practice, making changes, pushing, pulling, all in the same branch again at this point. Branching. We should talk maybe briefly about branching though, before I let you go. How do we do that? All right. Let's go back into Romeo. So very basic, quick branching intro. So you've already been working with branches. Main is a branch. Git doesn't really care. I mean, it cares a little bit because it gives you main as a default, but you can, do your work on any branch, and it will behave the same way as any other branch. So you've seen I've made a change here. I've created a branch, which you can do. You can create a branch off of any commit. I'm right now on this branch because my head is pointing there. I can move to another branch with Git checkout, such as main, and then now my head is pointing to main. The other branch is of course still there, but that's not where head is pointing anymore. You can see which branch you're on by just doing a git branch. And sometimes if, depending on what kind of environment you have, it will show up actually in your command line as well. So to create a branch, there's just a couple very small nuances. You can create one where you're at by just giving a name to it, git branch, new branch. And then if you look at it, there it is. Now notice though, when you do it that way, that you're actually still on the branch you were originally on. It doesn't change to that branch. So just, again, not rocket science, but you want to keep in mind what's happening and what's not happening. If you want to make a branch and go to it, you can use git checkout to do that. Git checkout -b. So now it tells you that at this point. So now when you make changes, you're going to have commits put on that branch and not on the original branch. So here's a common scenario. If you do say you're on main, I'm going to do a git checkout, go back to main. Okay, and this is all with, I haven't actually made any changes to the workspace at all, right? This is only just creating branches in the Git repo. So suppose I did this, git branch, new branch, but I forgot, oh gosh, I'm still working. I thought I was working on new branch, but I'm working on main, right? What's a file here? File 1, okay. And some change that's supposed to be on new branch. All right, and I git added.
The 2 carets for.
So 2 carets is append.
Oh,
Yeah. Yeah, so it doesn't blow away the entire contents. It just tacks on to the end. So yeah, so there's now clearly I had no new line at the end of my file initially, so it's kind of munched together, but it didn't delete anything. So git add, git commit. I think. And now I'm looking at it and I'm like, uh-oh, that change went on main. It's supposed to be going on to new branch. So pop quiz, how do I fix that?
Rebase.
Okay.
And then push to the correct branch.
Well, fortunately, I haven't done any pushing yet.
Could you
So I got that going for me.
Then reset.
reset and then push, or then change branch?
Okay. So how would I go? What are the steps I would use?
All you, Alicia.
So let's approach it this way. What do I
Reset
want?
dash soft head 1.
Let's first explain. Let's describe what I want the graph to look like. Here's what it looks like now. What should it look like if it was correct?
Main and new branch would be swapped.
Exactly. So how do we swap main and new branch most efficiently, or at all for that matter?
Oh, can you check out before you push and it'll change the branch you push to?
Check out before you push. I mean, we don't have to care about pushing right now at all. We're just wanting to make our local repo look right. Everything we're doing is ahead of origin main, so we're not, we're fine. Whatever we do. So how do we first of all, how do we get new branch to be here instead of here.
Is that where we use checkout?
Okay. So Git checkout what?
That's all I got.
Okay,
branch. You
you're,
gotta
you're
check out
almost,
new
you're
branch.
almost there.
Branch.
Git checkout new branch. So now what happened? So now head jumped down to new branch. All right.
Okay.
No more commits have been added, right? We're just moving around in what's already there. So yeah, okay, that's getting okay. Now what? How do we get new branch here? Git reset
-soft.
dash soft. Actually, so at this point, does it matter whether we use soft, mixed, or hard?
Mm. Well, because you
Okay.
already committed it, so if you want to unstage it, you'd have to go to mixed. If you just want to uncommit it, you'd have to do soft, right?
Yeah, I mean, we really don't care about our staging and workspace right now, right? We're just trying to mess with the graph, which is commits. So I would go with hard because there's nothing that's, we don't need to recommit anything. We just need to make the graph different. Right? So we can use hard because everything's gonna come along for the ride. All three trees are gonna come along for the ride. So yeah, so now if we want this thing to go somewhere, what do we tell it next?
Would be Bravo 0 Alpha 81.
Yeah, we tell it where to go. Say, I want you to go here. Let's see what happened. All right. So now new branch is where we want it to be. It's with my thing. But now what about main? Where do we want main? Where do we want main to be?
One head back.
Right. How do we do that?
So we have to check out back into main and then kind of do the reset.
Okay. Well, we don't have any. Yeah, I mean, yeah, okay, exactly right. No, let me shut up and do what you said. Check out main. Yeah. And now what?
And then we could just reset hard again.
Okay. Yep. To what?
Head one, head caret one, or just head caret.
Okay, that'll work. Boom. Now we've got main where it's supposed to be. We've got our change on our new branch where it's supposed to be as well. And now we're checked out on main. So the only other thing to remember would be to now, if we want to continue with things on our new branch, we have to go make sure we go back to our new branch so that we don't continue to make mistaken changes on main. But yeah, now we've done it, right? Now we fixed it. New branch is up here now, main is down here. We've swapped them just like we wanted to. Thoughts? Feedback? So that is, a practical use of Git reset. And if you understand kind of what's in play as far as what you want to do with the trees, in this case, we had nothing really staged or modified, so we could just move things around to make it like we wanted to make it. Because we just got stuff on the wrong branch and we needed to put it on the right one. So that's definitely one way to do it. Another way would be to use something called Git cherry pick. Would that be another way to do it? Let me think about that. No, I think the way we chose is the best way. I mean, that's got it the way we want it. Let me show you one more thing that you might find useful. I'll just put it out there and you can kind of make a note to look into it. It's called, yeah, it is called Git Cherry Pick. So I took the liberty a few minutes ago of making another branch here and doing some changes on them. And with the scenarios such as like, maybe maybe I want just this thing here on my branch, but not everything else. Sometimes that's handy, you know, if you have just this one sort of bug fix or change that you want to just literally pick out of a different branch because it's handy for you too. If I'm on new branch, you know, you trace back. So this stuff here is not on my branch anywhere. These changes do not appear in my history, if you will, right? If I'm up here on new branch. But I just want this thing, or maybe even this one. You know, what about this one? So I can literally just do a git cherry pick and specify that commit, and it will take it and put it onto, basically replay it onto my branch. Now there might be conflicts, as it says. You know, I need to resolve those, perhaps just decide how those changes should play together. You know, I'm just going to take the thing that I pulled in, which is usually what I want, and do the thing you do with the conflict: git add it and commit it. And it's part of, can I do a git continue or git? I think it just wants a git commit. So let's use the same message I used before. So that's again just a tool you can use to go grab commits, and a cherry pick will go all the way to making a commit. You know, it's not that it just puts stuff on your workspace. It goes all the way to making another commit on top of whatever commit you're at the moment. So of course, unless it runs into merge conflict, then you have to fix that. But if there's no merge conflict, git cherry pick one operation, and it's, you've got a different commit on top of where you were before, which is grabbed over from wherever you grabbed it. So Adam, do we have time to like do some running the project for about 15 minutes and practicing some of this stuff as project teams?
We do. This is all we have on the agenda for today.
Okay. Let's do that, unless anybody has any other burning questions about stuff we've done thus far. And like I said, I'll be around let's say till 2:30 at least. I don't really have anything else on my agenda either besides this for a while. So yeah, you can go back to this to the sample project repo again for inspiration, however you want to look at it, and maybe pick a raft of changes from early on. You know, you could start down here. You guys have kind of done all this already down here to some degree or another. And then you can just look at these changes and, you know, divvy them up among your team and start just see what happens when you start putting them into the repo and pushing them on up. And, you know, what kind of merge conflicts may or may not happen as you commit, push, and pull.
Chris, did you want to do that as a group? And if not, should we reconvene at some point? What would you like?
I think as I was thinking as project teams, that you just take some time to, I mean, the idea being just to exercise the experience of committing, pushing, and pulling.
Yep.
And, you know, sometimes it'll go smooth and sometimes it won't.
Yep.
Just like real life. So So I'll hang around, for whatever may come up that either we've not covered sufficiently or haven't covered at all. But I think we should have at least a good sense. We haven't dealt with workflows. We just haven't had time to. But I think if we can use the knowledge of our local repo trees and how to move changes around in those trees and change the graph with Git reset if needed. I don't think you should need Git reset, honestly, at this stage. And as long as we, can stay between the rails, but hey, if you need to, then it's there for you.
That sounds awesome.
Makes sense to everyone? Any other questions? Otherwise, yeah, breakout rooms are fine. I'll hang out in the main room, and if anybody wants to join, pull me into their breakout room, then I'm happy to join. And then we'll reconvene about 2:30. How's that sound?
That sounds good to me, and thank you. Definitely appreciate the time, and even though I know you said your schedule's open, we definitely just want to be mindful of your time. So this sounds awesome.
All right, great. Well, we'll come back together at 2:30 and wrap up as needed at that point.